Well, welcome to Watkins, everyone, and we're delighted to have Jan and Susan in today. They're the doyens of speed reading and accelerated learning, and they're going to be talking about their lovely book, Speed Reading Faster, which is a book which makes you actually feel like you could possibly compete with AI in this world where as you read it, you actually feel your brain sort of gearing up and actually sort of speeding up slightly. So and it kind of covers so many sort of different interesting ideas. As well as the kind of like giving you the main techniques of this process. So you know you find yourself kind of like creating mind maps and rhizomic kind of patterns and just moving into this kind of like this world where you're being taught about neurology and the psychology of it, and you feel your eyeballs like changing as you read it. So anyway, with no further ado, put your hands together. Thank you very much.
I like the eyeball thing.
Well, actually, I think you should give the talk. You do so well. Okay.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah. This is Jan Cisek. He was one of the first teachers of speed reading of this kind in the past, around about 2020. Okay. And then we met up then.
We met, 25 years ago. So together we've been working for collectively for 50 years on this subject. So Susan, I met Susan at the conference on accelerated learning, and we discovered that we love books. So I wanted to see her library, and she's got thousands and thousands of books. And what do you do? Every single book that she had, I wanted to read. I moved next door, and I read all her books in about 4 years. So that's how, and then we started working together on speed reading, and so there we are. So this is our last book, and it's been published by Watkins Publishing.
Probably is our last book, but it's also our most recent one.
Yes. So what we promised that on the website. So one more thing about the bookshop. So one of the best bookshops I've been coming here for the last 30, maybe 6 years, and it's amazing. It's been here 100-something years. Yeah. So it's just fantastic, and obviously things are changing with bookshops, but this is I think it's the best, one of the best books. I blogged about it many times. So, but that's what we promise you. So, how to spot key information quickly, reading in meaningful sort of chunks, expanding your peripheral vision, very important. Training eyes how to move through any text efficiently, so you can read more, read better, and read deeper. Yeah, and there'll be a little exercise. We've got some handouts for you, so you can practice and see whether you can maybe double your reading rate within, literally.
We'll see what we can do for you in the time we've got available.
So most people want this from speed reading, and I'm sure you want that too. So read faster,
remember and recall,
absorb information quicker,
get the key points,
understand obviously,
summarizing and telling others,
and any difficult material can be tackled with speed reading better.
Getting the overview and the details.
One of the most important is actually fun and enjoyment. When you enjoy what you're doing, what you're reading, you
actually
get more.
when we ask, we have to put that one in because people forget that's what they want.
Obviously, how to focus and how to concentrate if you're doing a lot of reading.
Note taking, because we do recommend that you take notes as you go along if you actually want to remember stuff.
And ultimately, you want to obviously save time, be more productive, have more choice, and become a speed reader. And to some extent, you're already a speed reader, so we're going to discover that in a minute. But there's been some studies and research, obviously, about speed reading, and they discovered that speed readers are more successful than anybody else for two reasons. They get better quality information faster. And obviously, you want to, if you're reading a lot and you come to this bookshop, Watkins bookshop, then you want to stay on top of your reading material.
So, just to be clear, speed reading, as far as we're concerned, it's strategies for getting information in the time available. So to read faster and more, but really it's about reading at an appropriate speed. You've got choice, so when you can read faster, you don't have to read at that speed all the time, and sometimes it's going to have to change anyway, but we're going to give you as many techniques as we can for speeding you up in the time.
And it's similar to driving. Obviously, if you're driving with a traditional car, not electric car, you might be thinking that sometimes it feels like you're reading as if you're driving in a first gear, and that's what most people do actually without studying speed reading. But ultimately, you have more choice basically, and you're going to read faster, slower, depending what you're doing. Yeah. People ask us, how fast do you read or speed read? Yeah.
I read as fast as I need to, depending on what I'm doing. And if I want to read slowly and go to sleep and snuggle up, I do that too. And then I'm not speed reading, I'm reading.
But if you give us a book on speed reading, not our book because we wrote it, but any other book, we'll be probably reading 10, 20,000 words per minute. Because we know probably everything there is to know about speed reading. We've been
And
doing it for 25 years.
Yeah. So you're just checking stuff. If you don't know anything, you read more slowly. But so it very much depends on the schema inside your own head, how much you know about it already, how much you know about the subject, and that will affect, and also how well it's written, and all of those things. But given all of those, any book that you get, you can go better if you know about the speed reading.
Yeah, but obviously if you give me a book about, I don't know, quantum biology, that I know about quantum physics, but not quantum but if it's well written, maybe I start maybe 300 words, 500 words, so it depends. So it's a range. There's no kind of fixed speed for anything really.
Yeah.
So you already know how to read a newspaper. If you do, use the Google dictionary and other little things. But just to look at two kind of types of reading, light reading, newspapers, and so on, and dictionary. There are different approaches to that, yeah. And already you know how to do it, and you're using speed reading.
Okay. So we're asking you to think about what you already do, put those things into practice, and take some of the things from one area and put them into another. Just have a quick show of hands. Who knows anything about speed reading already? Who speed reads already? Oh, good. A bit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
no, that's fine. All right.
But you're ticking two boxes already because you know how to use a dictionary and Google, and you need to know what you want to get the information. And also newspapers, you flick through the newspaper, look at the headings, get some information from maybe images or pictures, and you move on. So and you apply that to books, you get the results as well.
And we're talking about, so what we'll be talking about mostly is how to get information from books rather than lying around going to sleep and reading. And it applies equally to online material as well as digital emails, ebooks, the whole lot. But it also, we're doing it in a bookshop, so we're talking about books tonight, but it applies also to contracts, documents, and so on. You can use it for everything.
So remember that you've got some skills already. And the most important actually technique is to know what you want to get out of the book.
Yeah. So before you start, just as you wouldn't go into a meeting without having some agenda, if you want to get anything out of it, you will either ask yourself, am I doing this for work or pleasure? Okay. If you're reading for pleasure, do whatever gives you pleasure, and we promise not to get involved. Okay, that's up to you. But for work and study, that's what we do next. Your purpose will be one of two things. Either you're trying to get the message because you don't know what's in this book, or you do roughly know what's in this book, in which case you're wanting something specific. And the more specific you can be, go for it. And how to get the message is called skimming. Like you would skim through a newspaper quickly, that's basically how to do it. But we do it with something called previewing, which we'll tell you in just a moment. But specific information, you use the book as you would use a dictionary. You look for the things in the index, you find what you're looking for, you go for it, and you come out. And you put it back on the shelf, and it's there for next time you need something. You don't have to read everything. I'll tell you something, once you've bought the book, they don't care whether you read it a lot. It matters. Even the author doesn't really. It's, if you bought the book and it's good for you, then use it again and again. If you only want it once, stop. Okay. The thing is, you're talking about a purpose being for this session. this session of reading, and we recommend that you work in 20-minute blocks. So you have a purpose that you can achieve in 20 minutes. So that isn't the whole of the reasons for the First World War starting, but it might be 6 key points that were what it was about before you start reading in the details. So stick to time, and make sure you're going for a purpose for this, because a lot of people go, oh well, I'm reading this book because I want to pass my exam. Absolutely fine. This is one of the steps on the way to passing the exam, but your purpose is what you get out of the book for this reading session, and you tailor for that. And when you know what you're looking for, it's amazing how you can find it quickly. And the question you're asking yourself is, what do I want to get from this material? And if you're not quite sure, it's what do I want to do with the information? Am I going to give a summary to somebody? Am I going to write a paper? Am I going to just add to my own knowledge? What's it going to be? So your default purpose will be something like 6 interesting or useful facts. 6 is a jolly good number of things to find in 20 minutes. It gives you 2-3 minutes at the end just to decide whether you've got them or whether you need something more. But if you came away with 6 useful facts that you've actually written down, that's more than most people have got when they've actually read to the end of the book and forgotten most of it. Okay, so actually go in, know what you want, take it.
The worst possible purpose is to know that everything in the book. And most people want that, yeah? And it's not possible. Especially, if you don't know the subject and it's a new thing. So, just go for something manageable, 20 minutes. You can have as many goals or purposes for the same material as you need to, yeah? Right, so when you look at this, you see a jigsaw puzzle. Immediately your brain's got billions and billions of neurons to figure out what's happening on this page, but there's a lot of information missing, and you still figure out what it is. And the same with books, there will be things that were missing, yeah, and you might notice them or you might miss them, but very quickly with a preview, when you look at the book, we'll talk about that in a minute, you can just get a sense of what it's about, yeah. So then we can decide, what you want and what's missing actually. Right, so the preview is very important as well, and is useful as well for purchasing books. So you look at the subject, the title, blurb obviously, table of content, index is very important, gives you all the keywords, introduction, first chapter. Quite often there are summaries. Our book has summaries at the beginning, very useful. And beginning of chapters, there's a glossary. Obviously the design, pictures, tables, that will kind of dictate how you're going to process that information. I always start with date of publication. I want to see give me a bigger context of, where the text is. And also credibility of the author. Bibliography references also gives you an idea of how much they've done to write that book. And also read a bit, get the style, because sometimes, they might get a Nobel Prize for something very clever, but they're not a good writer. You want to know that early on, yeah? And flick through the book, kind of familiarize yourself, prime yourself with the text, and find out what it's about. So then, when you go deeper, you can find it much, much easier.
So what you do is you preview for maximum 2 to 5 minutes, and so really you're just looking through very quickly, flicking backwards and forwards, getting what it's about, so you preview and you get an overview of what the whole thing is.
And this is an example of a book. This is how a book should be written. And the title gives you all the information. The drugs don't work, and you don't believe. Then there's I pull it out from you. We are losing the battle against infectious diseases. Bacteria are fighting back, and we're becoming resistant to modern medicine. In short, the drugs don't work. And there's a whole list of why. Yeah. And so, if you're a medical student, you should read that book. But if you just need to know what the book is about, that's it. Doesn't matter how many times you read this book, you still get to this message. Yeah? Obviously, there will be other things happening, and she might be wrong, but that's the book message. Yeah?
So it's a reference book. You've got the message if you're just an ordinary folk, but if you need the details, you know where to look when you need them. You don't have to read more than that. But you can go around and preview an awful lot of books here in sort of 2 to 5 minutes and really decide which ones are worth putting your money into and get the ones you really want. And I think you'll find there are quite a few in here you really want, but even so, choose the ones for you. Now, okay.
So yeah, you do it with every text, so you spend on priming famous, you get a big picture. And also, you know, if you've got a pile of books, we used to buy a lot of books. So you've got a pile of books, you can go through the pile, see what's relevant, what's not relevant, what you need, what you don't need. And
do you know what we mean by the pile? That pile of books by, okay, fine. All right.
But
You've
also,
all got one, I hope.
but also if you need to get into a new subject, you know, you've got a book list, you know, you go to a section, and this is perfect bookshop because, you know, there's shamanism, myths, legend, there's, you know, occult, all kinds of yoga, everything nicely organized for you. You don't have to actually go around and find those books, yeah. So that's perfect.
Yet.
So you can go to one section, find out what you want, and then you know.
But you get the overview of the subject. So if you're going to go for a course of study, it's perfect. Go for the whole lot. Everybody else on the course will have a look at the first 3 on the list and then decide, I'll see what they want me to get. If you go through the lot and see in literally 2 to 5 minutes on each one, which ones are worth getting, which ones have just been, you know, are too hard for you at the moment, which are the ways in, which ones you want to spend money on, then it's a wonderful way of getting an overview of a subject. You write your notes down related to each book so you know which ones to work with.
So let's do some work. So we've got some handouts for you with an article called History of Speed Reading.
Okay,
Proper.
can you
Just
not
pass it.
read it until we tell you to?
Yeah, so-
Okay. What we're going to do is, don't start yet, I'm going to ask you to read at your normal speed for 1 minute on this, and then at the end of this talk, or near the end of this talk, we're going to get you to read a second time, having tried a couple of techniques, just to see if we can speed you up, actually. So don't start until we tell you to. Jan will tell you when to start.
Yeah,
And
and,
read normally with comprehension. Okay?
Wow.
No, no.
No, no, no.
You might.
Well, only if you read normally aloud, could you?
All right.
Regular for 1 minute, and
So you don't
so then you
interrupt the
kind of
others.
see where you
have to read
stop.
out loud.
No,
All right.
no.
I'm not going to
no.
question you on
No,
this.
it's
so
just to see what your normal reading speed is, and
just
then
you know, in 1 minute.
everybody okay?
Okay. Are you ready?
Okay.
1 minute starting now. It's quite loud. So stop now. That was 1 minute. Now,
Can you
can-
mark anywhere to see
yeah, so
roughly
it
where?
just gives you an
where
idea
you've got
because
to?
it's more or less the same columns and the wording is the same. So just give an idea where you stop.
So you can see
yeah.
roughly
If
how
you've
many
got some
lines,
pen or
and
something like that.
later on you can do a comparison of what you've done
So
now.
if you just
later,
one
if
column
you
or
want
two
to.
columns, then you can see.
There
Just
is.
make-
We have done word
Oh,
counts.
you know what? Where I'm here.
That's fine. No, it doesn't matter. No, it's just,
We're not going to test you. This
no,
is for
there's
you.
no- Right, so a couple of important principles that will help you to definitely read better, faster. And one of them is state. There's lots of research on how to be productive with this state. You know, some people are 500% more productive by following very basic sort of rules. So breathing, taking the deep breath. There's lots of books on yoga and all kinds of things to do with breathing. Breathing kind of in a relaxed way helps to get more oxygen in your brain and kind of relaxes you. So that's simple.
So if you could just sit up straight and breathe, please. Deep breath in and relax as you breathe out and smile. A pretend smile will work. If you're feeling a bit embarrassed, that's okay.
So the minute you're smiling, you get endorphin effect, relaxes your body, very easy to do. And the important thing in speed reading is opening your peripheral vision so you see more text. The more text you see, the quicker you're going to read. Yeah.
Okay, so basically you start with your hands in front of you, up at eye level, and look beyond the hands and move them to the side and round to the back of your ears while still looking straight ahead. Okay? And when your hands are out of sight, bring them forwards bit by bit, wiggle your little fingers until you can see in your peripheral vision to the side, both fingers at the same time, and then notice what else you can see round to the side. So if you take your hands down, you could still look like that. It's kind of like looking at both ears at the same time.
So you're not
So
moving your eyes
spread.
from one side to the other, you're just trying to see behind. So I can see
Okay.
Susan, I can see the screen, I can see both.
Just notice what you can see to the side of you, and noticing that. And now do the breath again, deep breath, and smile as you breathe out and feel your eyes relax, and they're in peripheral vision. It's as easy as that.
And basically that state kind of lasts about 20 minutes here. And there's a lot of research now that suggests that because we're using these small devices, we're losing peripheral vision, and that's obviously important for survival as well. But in speed reading, as I said, the more you use your peripheral vision, the more information you have to process.
People sort of feel that they have to focus on all the words in order to see them and take the information in. You really don't. You can take in a lot of information. Your brain takes in information through your peripheral vision. It doesn't have to be in focus, and you still get the message as you're going through. And that makes a huge difference to most people when they start doing it.
And the fourth step is just you kind of pause before you're doing a lot of reading, remind yourself what to do, about what you want to get out of the book, but also kind of plan. And there'll be little techniques to will remind you what you need to do. But basically, you kind of prime yourself that, yeah, you can read faster, you know how to do it. And drinking water helps as well. It will relax you as well, yeah. So lots of some studies suggest that, all the problems with reading and learning are to do with stress. So by kind of managing your state, you're basically optimizing your performance. So,
Okay. We discovered that we were teaching some people and they haven't reached the second stage of basic reading. This is not specifically a speed reading technique, but in schools, children are taught to decipher letters and words. And if they can read them aloud to their teacher, then they're on their own. They're supposed to kind of carry on. The thing is that I'm going to read you the passage just divided into 3-word chunks, which is, it's possible to get speed reading, apps which encourage you to read, more words at, a time, the problem. You can see that it doesn't work, that just dividing things into 3. But if you read it in a meaningful chunk, it goes, it's possible to get speed reading apps which encourage you to read more words at a time. The problem is that all the ones, okay, I'm not going to knock any more apps, but that isn't going to help you get the information. So what's important is that you are reading in nice, smooth groups as you look. So what you do is you look forwards and check that before you go. I'm sure that most people here are already doing it, but if you're not, or if you have children who aren't, then just check that that's what they're doing, because that will speed them up just with normal reading, is to make them, put them in control of their reading. because if you do slow readers read one word at a time, the reason why you get to the end of the page and you're really bored and you realise you haven't understood what it was that you've just supposedly read is because your brain's got bored and switched off. So you need to read faster and you need to read in meaningful chunks.
Yeah, because there's kind of myth that, you know, by reading slower you're going to understand more. Actually not, because you're getting less information, yeah? So by reading faster you have more information, more comprehension, yeah? Obviously if you don't understand something you have to kind of slow down. But speeding up is, you know, when in doubt, speed up your reading and you catch up. So we're going to teach you 3 patterns that will help you to read anything faster. One is called underlining, then there's super reading, and a zigzag. And we call them speed reading patterns, and they're designed to help you to understand, to get a context and find the hotspots. And the hotspots are key information related to your purpose. And usually they're noun and verb. So if I say man standing corner street, you understand. Yeah? So you don't need to know all the little words between. Yeah? And then you kind of zoom in and you slow down once you find the hotspots, and you read kind of in a regular fashion, usually with underlining technique to get more meaning.
So,
and you kind of just, you're already doing that, you kind of, you know, with your camera, so with anything environment, you're kind of zooming in and zooming out, and that's what reading is about. A lot of people get bogged down in details, kind of zooming in too much, and forget about zooming out, getting a whole context. Yeah.
also notice that when he did that, he was there. You can actually get more with your peripheral vision, more you can see. As long as your eyesight can cope, as holding it further away, you get a lot more information. Okay.
And also always read, you know, headings, anything that is different. So example of, in this article, very old now, first your smart TV, now the Xbox could be snooping on you. If you haven't heard that they've been recording things for a long, long time now, maybe you should read this article. But the new information for most people is that, oh, they're using game consoles to kind of spy on people. Yeah.
So if you're whizzing through this using any pattern, you stop briefly and look at all of the subheads, because the subheads are there to signpost you through the piece.
So the underlying technique is kind of a bit traditional, but there's a twist to it where you use your finger initially and you kind of underline and go down. But as you can see, we suggest to chop off beginning and ends, because you already open your peripheral vision. You don't have to read from the beginning to the end. So by moving your eyes, and obviously columns much easier than kind of big pages, so kind of easier to actually process information.
We're going to speed up now.
Yes.
Okay. In that case, what we're going to do is just start reading where you've been reading from all right.
So you already read that in a regular way, but now we're going to practice a few.
Use your finger to underline, just to keep you in. It just saves you having to worry about where you're up to when you start going faster. So going as fast as you can comfortably read, underlining with your finger, follow your finger. It's not a test, it's just to kind of get you going.
Right from the beginning.
Right from the beginning. Yeah. So just reading at your own speed. Okay. Keep going, but now cut off the first word and the last word, or the first centimetre and the last centimetre, and realise that if you're holding it away, you're not actually needing to go to the ends of the lines, and therefore you are reading a little bit quicker. You're still getting the meaning and you're going a bit quicker. Okay, so just reading like that is fine. And I'd like you to go to the bottom of the page, and we're going to time just to see roughly how long it takes. So in fact, we're only going to give you okay, and stop, because that was about 10 seconds to do the second half. And what we're going to ask you to do is to go down and do exactly the same thing, but at the speed of 1 second per line. So it's underline, 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 underline. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's fine. But without understanding. You don't have to understand. The whole point is to speed up your eyes and your brain to a point where after a while you will understand. But at the moment, so can you start at the second paragraph, earliest references to faster reading? And starting now, 1 second per line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, next, 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 next. Follow with your eyes, lead the way with your finger. Next, 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 next. If you follow the instructions, you've got to the bottom.
I can't read and listen to something at the same time.
That's all right, because the only important thing there, was that you were getting the
Moving your
pattern.
eyes. Basically, it's just it's like a brain gym exercise to help you to move your eyes faster. So then when you go to regular reading, you're naturally going to go faster. It's like when you're running, it's difficult to kind of slow down.
It's, you know, when you're driving and you're going at 70 miles an hour, you come off into a 30 mile an hour zone, it's almost impossible to drive at 30 miles an hour because it's too slow. Your brain is reacting fast. So if you do this and go fast, then when you come back and read it, you've got more time actually to read, and therefore you can read quicker. So can you do the next bit, and as you're going past, and I will tell you every 5 seconds just to kind of keep you going, that you're reading it, but you're not reading and comprehending. You're going too fast to comprehend, okay? So it doesn't matter that I'm talking. And so starting at the top of the next page, recognition, next, 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 next. Okay, you should be at the end of the second paragraph. Okay? We're going to be doing this properly with you before your next test, but
If you feel uncomfortable, that's perfect because it's, you know, any learning new technique or anything new, it's kind of, so if you kind of hold your hands, everybody, so that's your comfortable position, yes, you know, and do it the other way around. That's the thing too. It feels uncomfortable because you're used to it. So the same here, we in a very short period of time trying to introduce some new skills for your reading. So that was speeding up your eyes and your brain.
but we will do it with you again in a minute, so before you actually start.
And then again, if you've got a lot of reading, you might do that for 1 or 2 pages just to get you going.
Okay. This will get you to what most speed readers do, which is super reading, where actually you just go down the middle of the page and follow it with your eyes and trust that your eyes will take in the rest of the information through your peripheral vision. So super reading is this, and we would expect to do that at 4 to 6 seconds per page, which is even quicker than you were just doing with your 1 second a line.
In this case, it would be a column. And what we want you to do, already you've read this text, but I want you to look for just 3 keywords. In 1925, Isaac Newton and jams called saccades.
Okay, and that's in the first column. You will find those words if you just do super reading going down. Okay?
You're not doing underlining, you're just going down. It's just
Go down and see what you can see.
I'll show you where that, so you kind of practice. So the first one is on the top, the Isaac Newton in the middle, and the jams called saccades over there. So this kind of little practice, yeah? So for the next column, which you haven't read really, we've got different keywords. And for that, we're going to use a different technique called zigzag, which goes like this.
Like a happy Christmas tree.
So here we want you to look for 3 keywords: how to read a book in italic, happiness, and Shakespeare. So just kind of going with your eyes like that, see whether you can notice those 3 keywords. And if you missed it, just go again. Next time you will see it. So you're not spending too much time, just kind of zigzagging through this column. And there's some help with the text. Have you noticed this?
Yeah, there's a whole load of them in alphabetical order.
So there's alphabetical order that's useful for happiness. The how to read a book in italics always jumps out. And Shakespeare was at the bottom.
And what's interesting is that because you've got the words, if you kind of flick your eyes up and down, they very often jump out at you without you going in any particular order at all. So if you're looking for something, just as you do when you're looking in the index and you go to the page to find the thing you're looking for, that's what you're doing with this. What you're looking for is information that you want. So what you decided in your purpose, you're going to use these patterns or that pattern, or if it's very detailed, that pattern, to look for what it is you want to read. So we recommend super reading and zigzagging for looking down the page to find which bit you want to read in more detail, and you're allowed to do what you want actually, but you then slow down a bit, zoom in and read around what that bit of information is, jot it down and then start going quickly again.
And it's very similar to shopping. You go to a shop and sometimes they move things around, and once you know the section what you want, you spot it. Yeah? So the same, that's why preview is so useful, because your brain has seen most of the text and it knows where to look for. So these are 2 techniques, and you can use those for speeding up your eyes. So we already practiced this underlining very fast, or going very quickly through the column, or zigzagging through the column.
Okay, so you can use the speed reading to speed up your eyes as well. You can go down at 4 seconds a page to start off with, which is the rate we eventually want you to read at, but not right now. So 4 seconds to go down with your speed reading for several pages will speed up your eyes before you start reading.
And usually once it depends how the text is presented or written, you could start with underlining and then you go gradually to super reading, because you already got most of the information.
Which you chop off either end, and you actually start reading less. Okay, so you read less as you go down, either over time as you get more confident, or over a couple of pages you just sort of suddenly find that if you cut off more and more from underlining, you can get into super reading. I know we're going too fast for you at the moment, but this is stuff that you can remember and try out, and we go into much more detail in the book if you need it.
I mean, most of those, if you read newspapers, most of the techniques you already done, and without thinking. You look for headings, you kind of zoom through columns, maybe you zigzag, you maybe read beginning, ends, and so on. Right, so this is what people actually do. So that's from research, where they use eye tracking devices and not speed readers, just regular people from the street, and this is what the eyes do. The eyes kind of zigzagging to trying to find key information. That's a very natural way of doing so. I mean, obviously in schools they teach it differently. They should teach it like this.
Okay, but this is what you know to do. We're not asking you to do something that your eyes and brain can't do. This is something that's perfectly normal.
Right, so let's do a bit of it's called to super duper reading, get it into a good state, and then we do this 1-minute test again, and we'll see whether you can. So remember where you stopped the first test, but we're going to use
Did anybody get into the second column when they were reading in the first test? You did.
Oh, no, you're good.
I mean, just you can always start.
Sorry?
That's your book.
Oh, I see. Are you ready before?
Doesn't
Okay.
matter, as long as you know where
That's
you
right.
start, just to give you an idea
So
whether
what's-
you're reading more. Yeah.
So what we want you to do is to get into a good state. So sit up. Take a deep breath in. Relax as you breathe out and smile.
Open your peripheral vision.
Open your peripheral vision. So either try and look at both ears at the same time and smile again, or use your hands if you want to at this stage, but making sure you're looking ahead. Feel your eyes relax as they go into peripheral vision. So the more you do it, the quicker they will go into peripheral vision and the more you can see. Okay?
What are we going to do? How are we going to speed up your eyes? So actually we're going to use zigzag. So you're going to go 4 seconds per column. So we're actually going to look at the whole article. Yeah. So you kind of, you're priming yourself until you see the last page. We will guide you.
Okay.
And then we'll do a bit of underlining again, just to get you going. And then we start the 1 minute test. So, starting at the beginning of the article, 3-4 seconds per column.
4
Just
seconds per column, so when I get to 3, you should be halfway through.
Okay,
Okay.
off you go. First column.
Can you tell us each 4 seconds?
Yeah, we're
So
going
we
to.
tell you next column, next
Oh,
column.
what? Instead, yeah. So it's starting now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next column. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next
Turn the
page.
page.
1, 2. Notice words as you go past, but don't worry about trying
Next
to
column.
understand. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Next
page.
Next page.
1, 2, 3, 4. Next column. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next page. 1, 2, 3, 4.
And the last column.
1, 2, 3, and 4. Now go back to the beginning of the article.
So we're going to do this column, but very quickly underlining. So chopping beginning and ends, and just very quickly, if you do 2 lines, doesn't matter really, just to keep your eyes moving. So underlining with your finger, off you go. First column. 1, next, 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 next. Relax, smile. Just kind of fun exercise. Okay, now go to that point where you stopped the first test.
Get ready to read.
So again, reading with comprehension from where you stopped.
And again, you're going to be reading properly with comprehension.
You can
but
use
as
your
fast,
underlining technique
as
you want
fast
to.
as you can with comprehension.
With comprehension. Okay, you
Okay.
ready? Start now. 1 minute. Okay, stop. That was 1 minute. And compare how much you've read this time with the previous 1 minute test. And tell us. Just kind of visually assess. More,
Yeah.
Much more.
much more.
Much more.
Anybody doubled?
Much more sounds good.
I doubled.
Yeah.
Did it?
Tripled, double, triple.
But if you
Fantastic.
tested me on it, would I do well?
No,
but,
just-
but we wouldn't have tested you on the first one either.
Exactly.
And also, what you're doing now is we have gone through the first day of a course in double
Half an hour,
time speed, whatever it is, half an hour. Well done if you've gone faster.
Yeah.
And also, as you do more of it, you will get faster anyway, and you will make sure that you're understanding.
Plus,
But-
if you haven't kind of doubled and you think, oh, two things were happening. You had to kind of think what you're doing with maybe with a finger. It's a new thing, new article. Maybe you wouldn't choose that, and so it's quite challenging to do it in that sort of setting. But once you have your own books, you preview them, you know what you want. You definitely can double check your reading.
And we
rate.
like to challenge you and us.
So well done.
Okay.
So what have you learned? So we're kind of getting closer to the end of the talk, and obviously there will be time for questions. But what have you learned? Any kind of tips you got from this talk that you're going to apply in your own reading?
Actually, peripheral
Peripheral vision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's important.
Yes. Kind of priming yourself for the information. Yes.
I often don't read the index. I just go straight in, and I think I should slow down now.
It's interesting, you slow down at the beginning, but then you get faster
Yeah.
because you know what you're looking for. Yeah. If you don't like reading the index because it gets boring, you can flick through and see the chapter headings, and that kind of keeps you get more actively involved.
Now books are written quite well, and obviously they want you to buy the book, so the index or the table of contents is quite comprehensive, so you can find out more from that as well.
As we said, we've kind of rushed you through this, and the thing is that most people think they want to read faster. But there are lots of techniques that will get you there quicker. So it's reading faster, but also it's even just things like look things up in the index and find them is quicker than reading through the whole book to get there. And the least efficient way to read is starting at the left-hand side on the first page and finishing at the right-hand side on the last page. And you would never read a newspaper like that. You would flick through, find what you want, read it. When you've had enough, you'll stop reading and then go to the next bit. And that's what we're recommending you do to get information. So the only thing you're doing really this reading faster for is for your personal reading if you want to read faster. And honestly, I read faster through the boring bits, and I kind of then slow down a bit at the bits I want to enjoy.
But always kind of look at what you're doing and sort of adjust. Yeah, that's why we have reflective intelligence. The more you think about how you're approaching any text and how you can improve it, then the better you're going to go. So key points. Think about the purpose. Know what you're looking for. Preview. Definitely get the overview. Get the context. Get in good state. Quite often I'm just kind of checking. I'm already in a good state, so I don't have to go into good state. But especially if you have to read a lot. Read in meaningful chunks, use those patterns and find which one works for you, and just
And then go for it. You already know a lot of stuff. Push yourself to read faster. When in doubt, read faster and realise how much more information you can get. And a friend I was talking to just the other day said when her mother told her when she was young, put her finger in the middle and just read down the middle, and she sort of tried it and kind of panicked. And then when she got halfway down the page, she thought, actually, I'm picking up masses of information. I don't want to read all the details, but I know what the passage says. And that's the point. You know what it says, you know what the information is, and you can get it just by reading down the middle.
in the same way like you see those faces in the forest. It's just a different type of information. Yeah?
So you've got new skills. You don't need to practice the skills as such. Just put them into practice. Start using them with stuff that you actually want to read.
So there's some resources on our page, frequently asked questions. Obviously, the book, and it's obviously ebook as well, but paper we prefer. And we've got a blog, we've got all kinds of things there, so you can look at that. But any questions? This is time for us.
In your book, you talk about like barriers or blocks maybe to speed reading, like things like sort of vocabulary or sub-vocalization. Could you talk about some of those?
Well, sub-vocalization is when if you haven't got enough vocabulary, if you start reading more, you'll up your vocabulary rate. It's a wonderful virtuous circle. The other thing that some people kind of get hung up about is speaking to themselves while they're reading. Okay, and a lot of people make a lot of fuss about it in speed reading books. We tell you about it, but when something's very tricky, sometimes you need to sub-vocalize to make sense of a complicated sentence. So it's not that you must never do it, it's just that it will slow down your reading speed to the speed at which you can talk.
Which is about 200 words per minute.
However, if you want to keep going with the words, because it's the first thing you can do is focus on the nouns and verbs and just say those instead of saying all the words, and then that can pretty much double your reading speed by doing that and still sub-vocalizing. The other thing you can do is stop yourself doing it by having a clear purpose, reading quicker, and if you're reading quicker, you haven't got time to sub-vocalize. But if you've got a clear purpose and you know what you're looking for and you're going faster, it'll stop of its own accord.
But we don't make a big deal because basically by having all those skills, you can actually get more information in reading in a traditional way. As somebody who hasn't previewed the book, they don't know what they're looking for, etc., etc. So it's like driving a car. You can have the fastest car in London, but if you don't know the shortcuts, somebody with a rubbish car, get the first. So the speed is one thing, but getting information is another thing. So
and we've got
yeah.
12 or 15 techniques in the book, each one of which will speed you up in some way.
Are there any techniques to stop your mind wandering? Because often when I read a book, so I end up reading the same page like 5 times.
So the question is, are there any techniques to stop the mind wandering? So again, by being in a good state, you're more focused, having a purpose, or preview the book, you've got the context. It's we've discovered that when you follow speed reading, people don't have this issue.
It's not an issue.
No.
If you set yourself 20 minutes to find specific information, the time constraint will speed you up and stop you from wandering off. You only wander off because it's boring. If you're looking for stuff and you realize that I'm looking for six key bits of information.
Sometimes like a paragraph can provoke your own imagination, and then you start thinking deeply about something. And
If you want to read like that, that's slow reading. I would mark the paragraph and come back to it. So don't try and do ordinary reading and speed reading at the same time. I mean, once you know how to speed read, you can actually do that.
Is there a danger with speed reading that you can miss nuggets of information that are valuable by jumping over?
There's a danger with any reading, like when your brain goes off, that you've missed the whole page. So speed reading actually keeps you much more focused than reading slowly. So no, and if you're doing it, you've previewed, you speed read, and then we have another technique at the end. Whereas if you want to pick up all the details, you can actually read very quickly through the whole book in order to find out if there's anything else you need. But you'll get much more and you'll remember more because the techniques also help you remember, just because you've been paying attention. If you don't know what you want from the beginning, you won't know what you're looking for. If you don't stick to time and have a time constraint, there's nothing to stop your brain from wandering. So, but if you follow the different techniques, even just the ones we've told you, you can keep your brain in place, as it were, and then save up anything else you want to read for later. And
You can read the same book several times, depending on what you want. So I think you need to kind of separate what you want to get out of the book, get the key points, and then maybe think about certain aspects, so then you can allow your mind to wander.
It's a bit difficult. You've got about 300 books that you haven't read already.
yeah, okay, but if you've got 300 books, I don't know how you're going to even start if you haven't done speed reading. If you've got 300 books, then previewing the first 30 would be a very good start to decide which ones you want to start working on. And then go for the information that you want in each of those books. And what you may find is that some of them duplicate each other. There's a technique in the book where you actually take 4 books on the same subject and read the whole lot in 75 minutes on a comparative basis. It's called syntopic processing.
Syntopic processing, yes.
So that's in the book as well. So you can get through them 4 at a time.
But the key things is if they're on the same subject, preview them all. So it'll probably take you a couple of days. Depends how much time you have, but yes.
In a way, my nature, I'm quite thorough in a way, so like, I'm quite meticulous. So.
Well, then that's the second stage, because basically if you're very thorough and you're going quite deep early on, it will take you ages, yeah? But you need to go generally, like with that picture, just
the
get a
overview
sense of all
and
the
then
books,
go for
what's
the
there,
detail.
which books is difficult, which is easy, and then go deeper.
If you think about that picture of the planets and so on, if we just gave you, it was a jigsaw puzzle, we gave you one piece at a time, you would just have to put them in, you wouldn't get it. And if we gave them out of order, you'd have no idea. If you get the overall picture before you start, then as you read stuff and you know what you're looking for because you've got a purpose, you know where to put it, you know where the information.
Focus bits to
You
stand out.
focus on the bit, and those bits tend to jump out.
I think it's 6 o'clock, so I have to.
Indeed. Well,
But we'll be
thank you
here
guys
hanging out,
so
so signing
much.
the
Yeah,
paper.
indeed. Yeah. If you have any further questions, please.
We're here for a little bit.
Okay. Big round of applause. Yeah, we're prepared a table upstairs where there will be a sign name. You can look at the